the Indian Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers, ISHRE, stand tall in the Indian industry with over 10,000 professionals as members and almost an equal number of student members. Founded in 1981 and headquartered in Delhi, we operate from chapters and sub-chapters spread all over India, bringing our entire industry together. Individuals become members of our society according to their professional and academic standings. Our roadmap of the future looks very bright. With thousands of new members joining this technical society, every fresh outlook to our industry intelligence. ISHRE disseminates knowledge through its technical committees, which consists of some of the best minds of our industry. It publishes technical books, newsletters, and a prestigious journal, distributing the wealth of knowledge to all its members. Working with government departments, ISHRE helps formalize industry codes and standards. ISHRE promotes research by offering financial support to student members to carry out groundbreaking work in technology, systems and processes. Our educational wing, ISHRE Institute of Excellence, organizes training programs and workshops to help members enhance their skill sets. Our specially designed certification programs under ICP, that is, ISHRE Certified Professional, empower professionals to always be in step with the prevailing technology. Specially designed courses for technicians are offered to meet the ever-increasing demand for a skilled workforce. ISHRE organizes exhibitions, conferences, panel discussions and product presentations throughout the country. We organize the industry's largest international exposition in South Asia, Acrex India, to showcase the cutting-edge technology, innovation, and provide a platform for closer interactions amongst the decision makers in the industry. The Acrex exhibition is now growing from HVAC&R show into BFA, Build Fair Alliance. This brings together several allied shows connected with the building services industry, all at one location. Our chapters organize several other popular events like AgriConf in Delhi, Raycon in Kolkata, Symposia in Mumbai, TechFest in Goa, and many more. We are committed to provide training and career guidance to our student members through seminars, lectures, quiz contests and site visits. AQuest, a prestigious quiz competition organized by ISHRE to catalyze the transformation of the budding engineering professionals. ISHRE provides a platform to potential employers to select student members for careers in HVAC&R industry at the ISHRE Job Junction. Young minds are made aware of the need for saving power, clean air and sustainability. The K-12 initiative of ISHRE focuses attention on school students' development to inculcate a scientific fervor and help develop them into responsible citizens. Speedy information is imperative to keep moving forward in this hyper-connected digital age. Searcher, a specifically designed search engine, is now available, which allows access to a well-catalogued database on HVAC&R and building services industry with just a few clicks. ISHRE cooperates with various national and international bodies, industry, governments, academia, think tanks to promote the concept of sustainability, environmental protection and energy efficiency and conservation. To enter and explore the universe of the Indian HVAC&R industry, log on to ishre.in that unfolds a panorama of information Let us engineer a sustainable future together through ISRE.
गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल। सर्वानंद सर, आवाज आ रही है?
यस यस सर, आ रही है आवाज।
ठीक है सर। यस सर। गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल। Now welcome in 7 days workshop on the basic fundamental of HVAC and RAC. Now today we have the speaker and one of the most, Dr. R. Saravanan is the professor and head refrigeration and air conditioning laboratory, Anna University, Chennai, India. He has more than 25 years of teaching and research experience in the area of energy conversion in buildings, solar heating and cooling systems, and combined power and cooling systems. He holds PhD degree in solar cooling from IIT Madras and published 48 international journal papers and presented around 120 papers in both national and international conferences. He is an active member in ISRE and ESRE Chennai chapter and held various positions for ISRE like Chennai chapter president, regional program chair, national chair, student and regional director. Currently, he is trustee II technical committee member in ISRE headquarters and president of ESRE Chennai chapter. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome to all the participants who will be here for next 1.5 hours to listen to the fundamentals of HVAC systems.
Sir, please start.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, all. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sandeep, for inviting me to give this lecture. Okay, for the 7-day workshop on basis of HVAC and HVAC and RNC systems. And in fact, I must congratulate you to selection of topics for the next 7 days, which is going to cover the entire spectrum of HVAC systems, particularly from the student's perspective. Okay, so you are starting with the fundamentals of HVAC systems or a basic HVAC systems, followed by you have a topic on basic components of systems, then heat load calculations, then psychrometry, then followed with the learning of refrigerants. Then we are going to discuss about classification of air conditioning systems, and finally categories of air conditioning systems. So the speaker here chosen for this workshop is they are the masters in this field. Okay, you cannot get none more than this for this workshop for the students. Okay, so thank you for inviting me to give this lecture on fundamentals of HVAC systems and application. So before we go for the presentation, a formal disclaimer. Okay, so the information provided in this webinar is for the general information purpose only. While we try to keep the information up to date and correct, there are no reference status and warranties or express or implied about the completeness, accuracy, reliability, suitability, or availability with respect to the information, product, or services, or related to the graphics contained in this webinar for any purpose. Any use of this information is at your own risk. We do not guarantee or declare that the information of the webinar is accurate and correct. We are not responsible, nor can they be held liable for any errors in the content of this webinar. Okay, so this disclaimer is given by the ISHRAE. Okay, so we have to display this webinar. Okay, so the views expressed in this presentation made in the webinar are those of speaker, that is me, not necessarily of ISHRAE. The presentation or the presence does not constitute or endorsement of any vendor or specific product or services. Okay, so with this webinar, we will move to the actual topic. Okay, so this is the one field which never stagnates. Okay, and it is constantly absorbing and applying the latest discovery of science and engineering in an effort to ease environmental problems on Earth and in space. Okay, and HESR field is a business which is closely related to the health and happiness of the people, which many of you could have observed. Okay, during the summer days, when you enter the air conditioning building, the happiness what you get is something priceless. Okay, so the service we are providing to the people, happiness is a tremendous one. Okay, so when you look at this HVAC applications, maybe a simple application as home, like your home air conditioners, or a big shopping mall like this, or you can have a metro rail, or a jetliner, or air conditioning in a submarine or a space. Okay, so the application is tremendous. Okay, and you have a variety of applications. Okay, so if you take refrigeration, you have industrial refrigeration, food preservation, and you have millions of commercial refrigerator is operating at your home. Okay, cold chain, which is supplying continuous supply of fruits and vegetables at a constant price over the years. Okay, and also we are support the life-saving equipments. Okay, and also do these systems uses in the materials and vaccine development in many field. Okay, so when you look at this whole industry, it is the industry for mankind to keep the people happy over the years. Okay, so when the people are happy, it all depends upon his performance. Okay, so when you look at our body temperature is about 37 degrees centigrade. Okay, so we produce heat and we lose heat also to make the temperature uniform. Okay, we are like IC engines. Okay, so we consume some food, burn the calories, burn the food to get the energy and do the work. Okay, so when the surrounding temperature is more than your body temperature, okay, there is a heat absorption, and body will try to manage by doing evaporation, convection, radiation, or heating, conduction, all these heat transfer process, the body will be able to do it. Okay, so when you just do a simple Carnot efficiency for your human body, when the ambient temperature is assume it is at 25 degrees centigrade. Okay, your body is 37 degrees centigrade. You just do the Carnot cycle efficiency. Okay, your efficiency is not more than 3 or 4%. Okay, so it's a engine efficiency, but the metabolic efficiency may be different, but it's all depends upon your ambient temperature. Okay, so the study, various people has done a lot of studies to find the performance of the human being with respect to their surrounding temperature. Okay, when you look at this graph, okay, the performance degradation is almost zero when your ambient temperature or the surrounding temperature is between 21 to 27 degrees centigrade. That depends upon the climate conditions. Okay, but normally the performance is 0%. There is no decrement in the performance when the ambient is maintained at a close gap of 22 to 26 degrees centigrade. Okay, as the temperature increases or when the temperature drops from this reference temperature, okay, you can see the decrement in the performance is as high as 16% in some cases, but an average you can take it is about 8 to 10%. There is a drop in your performance. Okay, at higher temperature. Similarly, at lower temperature also you have a drop in performance. Okay, So the relative temperature, you can see there is another study is done by Astray, is also showing the same thing. Okay, your relative performance degrades by about 8 to 10% when there is a deviation from the reference temperature by 10 degrees centigrade. Okay, so the human being will work best without any performance decrement when the ambient is at about 22 to 26 degrees centigrade. Okay, so it is to keep our work better, efficient. Your temperature is also an important factor. Okay. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are near to the equator. Okay. So at the equator, the solar radiation is maximum. Our annual mean solar radiation is about annual solar mean radiation is about 200 to 250 watts per meter square in this area. Okay. So when you have this high solar radiation, okay, our cooling degree days is also very high. The cooling degree days indicate the overall space cooling requirement due to heat and humidity. When you look at this graph, okay, so the countries near the equator has the highest number of cooling degree days. Okay, cooling degree days is nothing but which compares the mean average of the low and high temperature with the outdoor mean average either low or high with the outdoor temperature recorded at any given location to a standard temperature, which is usually about 18 degrees centigrade. Okay, you can call it. Okay, you can compute this cooling degree days using this formula. The base temperature is 18 degrees centigrade. So this is the ambient temperature in a particular day. Okay, so when you calculate this for India, most of the coastal region, the cooling degree days is close to 4,000. Okay, and hot and dry places like Jodhpur, your cooling degree days is near 3,800 to 4,000. Okay, compared to all other places in the world. Okay, this is mainly because we are near the equator, our solar radiation is very high. Okay, so when you look at the climate zones in India, okay, so when you look at the climate zones, so are you able to listen clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
and
sir.
there are, I can see some questions asked in the chat box. Okay, we'll address these questions at the end of this seminar. Okay, so I request the audience to be patient. Okay, so please type your questions in the Q&A session in the Zoom webinar. We'll try to address all at the end of this webinar. Okay. So when you look at the climate zones in India, so it is divided into 5 climate zones. Okay, hot and dry, warm and humid, hot and dry, warm and humid, composite climates, temperate climate, and cold climate. Okay, so Jaipur or Jodhpur in hot and dry climate. So what is the hot and dry climate? When the mean monthly maximum temperature is above 30 degrees centigrade and the relative humidity is less than 55%, you call this as a hot and dry climate. Okay, at the hot and dry climate, the temperature is more than 40 or more than 30 degrees centigrade. Okay, so when you look at the various cities, okay, in India and also abroad, okay, your mean dry temperature and wet bulb temperature, if you see, okay, so when you look at London, your dry bulb temperature is 28 and wet bulb temperature is 19.8. It is close to the comfort temperature. Okay, so you may not require air conditioning in most of the times in London. So of course you require, now due to climate change, London temperature is also going as high as 35-40 degrees centigrade. Okay, but it is an average value. Okay, under this condition, okay, so when the person is living in this hot and dry climate or a warm and humid climate, okay, so we lose a lot of heat. Okay, so when you are in warm climate, okay, our body is able to maintain the temperature of 27 degrees centigrade by heat dissipation through radiation evaporative cooling, and you have a convective cooling from the surface. Ourselves, the body is an excellent mechanism which can be able to provide a cooling mechanism on its own if you are in a warm ambient climate. If you are in cold ambient climate, our body will raise the temperature when the ambient is at, say, during the winter is about 4 degrees centigrade, or in Canada, the temperature is about minus 20 degrees centigrade. Okay. Our body is inbuilt mechanism to able to keep your body temperature at 25 degree or 37 degrees centigrade. Okay. Like you produce a heat through shivering, your hair rise, reduced dissipation because of through radiation. Okay. We are able to keep the body temperature close to 37 degrees centigrade, whatever may be your ambient condition. Okay. So even we are able to keep the temperature, body is able to keep the temperature at 37 degrees centigrade. Okay. To achieve the thermal comfort. Okay. So we should be able to understand your climate characteristics of a location. Okay. And your human behavior, like what type of activity you are going to do. Are you going to do teaching, or like or you're going to do some sitting and do the exercise, or you're going to running, or you're in a gym, or in your cooking, or in the doctors in the operation theaters, what type of activity they are doing. Okay, each activity will increase your metabolic rate. Okay, we'll see about the metabolic rate and clothing in the coming slides. Okay, your human behavior is one thing, and other factors like food and drink, body shape, age and gender. Okay, so this is another factor which is going to add to the comfort parameters. Okay, and also we should also understand your building physics. Okay, about your solar radiation. Okay, what is the thickness of the wall, what is wall material, window material, roof. Okay, so which is going to increase your heat gain to the building. So you have to understand about your building physics. Okay, and so you can able to control for effective building design the air temperature, humidity, air movement, and solar radiation. You can reduce the heat gain. You can monitor the air movement. You can keep the humidity at the acceptable range. Okay, 40 to 70%. Your air temperature is between 23 to 28 degrees centigrade for comfort application. You can able to keep it. Okay. So what are the comfort parameters? The comfort parameter I told you, temperature, airspeed, humidity, etc. Okay. The airspeed is defined as the rate of air movement at a point without regard to a direction. Okay. So ASTRAE 55 and 90.1 gives a what is your comfort zone with respect to your airspeed and operating temperature. Okay. Even you will please note that the higher the airspeed, we can able to increase the operating temperature also. Okay, and also it depends upon the cloth level. We'll see in the next slide. We'll see what is clothing level. Okay, so at 28 degrees centigrade, when you keep your temperature even at 29 degrees centigrade, okay, at 0.5 flow with 1 meter per second air speed, we can able to be comfortable. Okay, but when you reduce the air speed at 0.5 meter per second, okay, you can also feel comfortable, but it's not at 29, but you can feel comfortable at 27 degrees centigrade. Okay, the airspeed and temperature is interrelated. So if you want to reduce energy consumption in your air conditioning systems, okay, you can increase your operating temperature and you can increase your airspeed. Okay, you can feel comfortable. That is what this sort is telling us. Okay, and if you look at the humidity, okay, most of these bacteria and viruses, okay, will be inactive or in the optimum zone of 40 to 60%. Okay, so at a higher humidity and lower humidities, these bacteria, viruses, fungi, respiratory infections, all this it will become very active at the lower humidity level and higher humidity level. So the optimum zone is between 40 to 60%. So ASTRAE recommends to keep this humidity in the occupied zone in the building between 40 to 60% and the temperature between 23 to 27 at the optimum airspeed of 0.5 to 1 meter per second. Okay. So apart from these two comfort parameters, okay, the next is the clothing. Clothing is the insulation, which normally we provide for the people. Okay, one cloth represents the insulating value of the clothing needed to maintain a person in comfort setting at rest at 21 degrees centigrade with the air movement of 0.1 meter per second, humidity not less than 50%. So typically a person wearing the business suit. Okay, so it's a cloth level is 1. So different cloth level values are given. You can compute and see what is your cloth level. Okay, so when you go back to the previous figure, okay, so this is a comfort zone at cloth level 1. At the lower cloth level, still you can increase your operating temperature and you can become comfortable. Okay, so there is no point in keeping your room at 21 degrees centigrade and taking the blanket and covering your body, because at 21 degrees centigrade or 20 degrees you may not be comfortable. To make yourself comfortable, you started wearing blanket. Okay, so you can reduce your clothing level and comfortable at a higher temperature. Okay, the next parameter is the metabolic rate. The metabolic rate is the activity level, what type of activity you are going to do, which referred as a MET. So one MET is 58 watt per meter square. So this is for a standard person with a 6 feet and comfortable BMI at the appropriate BMI index. He is going to emit about 48 watts per meter square for one MET activity. Okay, a person doing the light work by sitting. Okay, so his metabolic activity is 1. Okay, for the same person who is when he is going to run at 10 kilometers per hour, his metabolic activities increases by 8 times. Okay, so that is why doctors are advising, if you want to reduce your weight, you run, do jogging and other things, so that you burn more calorie, your energy will release. And okay, the another parameter is a mean radiant temperature. Okay, this is a uniform temperature of the surrounding surface with which the human body would exchange the same heat by radiation occurs in the actual environment. Okay, so this is nothing but when you are close to the window. Okay, so the radiant temperature you can feel. Okay, that is a parameter. So the operating temperature is your air temperature and mean radiant temperature. Sum of average of these two is the operating temperature inside the room. Okay, having seen this comfort parameter, now let us look at your heat transfer aspects in the buildings. Okay, so you have to, these comfort parameters like clothing level is 1, operating temperature, air speed, what type of activity, which is going to decide, okay, what type of comfort you require. Okay, and for to achieve this comfort, okay, we should know what is your heat transfer to the building. Okay, so the heat transfer first is internal heat gain through the human body and its activities, lighting, or some motors and appliances inside the room. So lighting, human body, there are some appliances, Xerox machines, okay, coffee making machines, all these things will be there inside the room. What is the amount of heat generated by this internal equipment? Then heat gain through solar radiation. Okay, so there could be conductive heat gain or heat gain through the walls, roofs, etc. Then there is some heat gain or a heat loss. Okay, so it depends upon what is your ambient, and the ambient is very cold, there is a heat loss, and the ambient is very hot, you'll get heat gain. Okay, heat gain through convection, through ventilation. Okay, so through the opening of doors and windows, there is a air gap between the air gap in the walls, air gap in the doors, windows, so which will push the air inside. So there is a convection heat transfer taking place. Okay, and also you have a induced heating or cooling. Okay, inside the room. Okay, and also heat loss due to evaporation. The sum of all things will give you a heat balance. Okay, so it is better to understand the heat transfer in the building. The moment you talk about heat transfer, okay, so we'll have sensible heat and latent heat. Okay, so before going for the sensible heat and latent heat, what are the components of your cooling load? The components of cooling load is your solar heat gain, main thing. The cooling load is nothing but the rate at which the heat is removed from the air inside the building to maintain the required comfort temperature. Okay, so this is the amount of heat you have to remove from the building, from the, okay, inside the building to maintain the required comfort temperature. Okay. So when you want to remove the heat is being added inside the room. Okay. The heat is added through solar heat gain, infiltration and ventilation load, and internal heat gain. Okay. So there are something is external and something is internal. So external is walls and roof, windows, ventilation, infiltration, internal light, people, and equipment. Okay. So what are the sensible heat and latent heat of the components? Okay. If you look at the sensible heat, conduction, radiation through walls, roofs, windows, yeah, conduction, windows is radiation. Okay. Then you have a combination of sensible and latent heat through ventilation and infiltration. Okay. Then the moisture from the people is a latent heat. The moisture from the equipment is latent heat. Okay. So what is sensible and latent heat? Okay. The sensible heat causes a change in temperature with no change in state. Okay. There will not be any change in the state, but only the change in temperature. Okay. So you can estimate the sensible heat required to raise the temperature of water from say 15 to 16 degrees centigrade to 100 degrees centigrade by using this equation MCP delta T, specific heat of the water, mass of the water in the container, and what is the temperature difference required. You can find out what is the sensible heat is required. Okay. The sensible heat causes the increase in molecular motion. Okay. You can measure the sensible heat rise by measuring by the thermometer. Okay. But in the case of latent heat, which causes the change in state with no change in the temperature. Okay. So that means the water at 100 degrees centigrade can become water vapor at 100 degrees centigrade or steam at 100 degrees centigrade by changing your latent heat. Okay. So it is latent heat of evaporation. Okay. So it can be calculated by using your change in enthalpy of the heat energy between these two states, M into delta H. Okay. The enthalpy is the total heat content. It is a sensible plus latent heat. Suppose you want to convert water at 16 degrees centigrade to vapor at 100 degrees centigrade. You have to calculate what is the sensible heat to rise the water from 15 degrees centigrade to 100 degree at liquid state. Then what is the amount of heat required to convert the water at 100 degrees centigrade to vapor at 100 degrees centigrade. Okay. So this is a brief definition of your sensible heat and latent heat. Okay. So when you look at what is conduction, convection, radiation, and in the building. Okay. So conduction is the heat flow from higher energy. Heat flows from a higher energy levels to lower energy, as you all know. Heat flows with the temperature difference. That means heat cannot flow without temperature difference. The greater the temperature difference, the faster is the heat flow. Okay. So there are three modes of heat transfer, as you all know. You would have studied in your thermodynamics class: conduction, convection, radiation. In the building, heat is transferred by conduction, mainly by walls and roof. Okay, the conduction heat transfer is a transfer of heat from the molecule to molecule through a substance by chain collision. Okay, so that means you can by heating one end of the copper rod, you will know that the other end is getting heat. Okay, that is the transport of heat from higher temperature to lower temperature. Okay, so you can use this. You can use the Fourier heat law conduction to find out what is your conduction heat minus Ka dT by dx. K is the thermal conductivity of the material. Dt is the change in temperature in the direction of heat flow. Okay, so for example, you have a zirconium metal which has a thermal conductivity of 22.6 watt per meter Kelvin. Okay, your temperature drop across your 1 centimeter thickness of the block is about 1 degree centigrade. So you can calculate what is your amount of heat transport. Okay. So next is the convection. The convection heat flow in building occurs mainly in the interior spaces within the room, between a gap and a air gap in the walls or a roof, or within two layers of a glass in a window. Okay. So this is in which your convection heat transfer takes place. Okay. The convection heat transfer by the molecule movements from one place to another place. Okay. So suppose you have a surface area, you have a wall temperature TW, you have ambient temperature, there is a free flow of air. Okay. The convection heat transfer takes place from the wall to the ambient because wall's temperature is higher than your ambient temperature. You can calculate by using the simple formula HA delta T. H is a heat transfer coefficient. Okay. The heat transfer coefficient depends upon whether it is a natural convection or forced convection. Okay, so if it is natural convection for the gases, it is 3 to 20 watts per meter square Kelvin. For water, for boiling water, if it is a forced convection, the values are given, which you can take it from any standard heat and mass transfer textbook. Okay, but the convection and infiltration are both the form of mass flow, but the convection heat flow takes place mainly in the interior, where the infiltration takes place between the building and outside air. So this convection and infiltration will both bring sensible and latent heat to the building. That means you have a moisture inherence into the building, and also there is a rise in inside the temperature. Okay, so you should take care of your both sensible heat and latent heat inside the building. Okay. Then the radiation. So radiation is a process of heat flow in the electromagnetic waves from the hot surface to the empty space. Okay. Suppose you have a glass temperature. The glass may not, glass in the window may not get heated up, but the inside the room, you'll get a lot of heat. Okay. So that is the process of radiation. The heat transfer by passing from the source to the absorbent surface without heating the space in between. Okay. You can find out your radiation heat transfer by using this formula sigma, emissivity area into sigma into temperature difference to the power 4. Okay, so emissivity of the surface is most important. Okay, so if it is a black surface, emissivity is 1. Okay, so if you want to promote your more the heat transfer surface, your emissivity has to be close to 1. Okay, that is why when you see your compressor in the refrigerator, air conditioners, okay, small air conditioner and other things, all the things are painted with a black in color to promote heat transfer. Okay, your radiation heat transfer is about 60% from the compressor surface. Your convection heat transfer is about 30 to 40%. That is, like, radiation heat transfer is predominant. That is why all the compressors are painted with a black in color. Okay. So by understanding your heat transfer to the building through the conduction, convection, radiation, and your infiltration and exfiltration load, okay, you can able to calculate your cooling load, or that means what is the amount of heat has to be removed from the room. Okay, so Mr. Chandrasekhar, N. Chandra is the National Secretary of ISRO, is going to discuss about whole lot of things about how to do the heat load calculation step by step by estimating your conduction through the walls, windows, by using equations with all these conductivity numbers in the days to come, within these 7 days. I think 3rd day he is giving a webinar on this heat load calculations. Okay, just I am highlighting the procedure. Based on your outdoor temperature and the indoor temperature, you first calculate you can get it from the data book. Then you know what is the inside design temperature, that based on your activities. Okay, suppose you have a gym. Okay, so your design temperature will be different compared to the room. Okay, or you can have a building plan specification. You compute your heat transfer coefficient. You calculate your conduction, convection, and radiation heat transfer from the building plant operating schedule with respect to the outside wind velocity, temperature difference between the outside surface, inside the surface, and what of rate of infiltration and ventilation of the outside air. Okay, by adding these 3, you can able to calculate what is your total sensible heat and total latent heat. Okay, and you can calculate your internal heat gain from the internal sources like light, equipment, and people, and you apply the cooling load factors. Okay, then you sum it up all your external heat load and internal heat load. Then you divide into what is the sensible heat component and latent heat component. Then you can able to find out what is the maximum cooling load has to be removed from the building. This I just given the simple steps, but the detailed explanation and the calculation will be dealt by Mr. Chandrasekhar in the days to come. Okay. Okay, so but when you look at what is the boundary of this air conditioning, okay, whatever may be your ambient condition, okay, maybe the lowest pressure, which is as a silicon gas here, which is about in Himalayas 6,000 meter height, when the pressure is about 50 kilopascal, very low, or that the highest pressure is about 140 kilopascal in the Kolar Gold Mine at a depth of 3350 meter, or in the submarine, the pressure is very high. Okay, and also with respect to the temperature, okay, your temperature, which is about minus 60 degrees centigrade in the Antarctic, or highest temperature plus 60 degrees centigrade in the Gulf region. Okay, you have a wide spectrum of your ambient condition. When the pressure, ambient pressures varies from 50 to 150 kilopascal, and the temperature varies from minus 60 to plus 60 degrees centigrade. Okay, and your humidity is also going to vary from 90% to 10 to 90%. If you look at the desert or in cities like Jaipur, Jodhpur, during the summer month, it is hot and dry. The humidity is less than 30%. Okay, but when you take the coastal region like Chennai, Mumbai, Calcutta, or Trivandrum, the humidity is going to be around 80 to 90%. Okay, but your comfort applications require 25 degrees centigrade, 50% RH. Okay, your ambient, even though the pressure, ambient pressure is varying from 50 to 140 kilopascal. Okay, but the most of your buildings are at the ambient condition. So we take the air properties at the ambient pressure of 101 kilopascal and proceed with our calculations. Okay, so to calculate the air, your properties of air is important. Okay, so the air conditioning obviously deals with the air, and hence understanding its property is the starting point of any air conditioning application. Okay, the psychrometry is the science of studying thermodynamic properties of moist air, and use of this property to analyze the condition which a process involving the moist air. Okay, so when you look at the air, ambient air is a mixture of gases, okay, like nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, etc., and a water vapor. It is a mix of homogeneous mix of both various gases and water vapor. Okay, so it is, so we can treat this moist air, okay, it's a dry air plus water vapor, as a ideal gas, two perfect gas, namely the dry air and water vapor. Okay, so so that we can able to use your ideal gas equation to find out these properties of air. Okay, so ideal gas equations, when you can use it for any gas or vapor or perfect, you can take it as a perfect gas when it has a very high temperature. That means when the temperature of the medium is very higher than your critical temperature. Okay, but when you look at your critical temperature of air is minus 140.63 degrees centigrade, but our air conditioning application varies from minus 60 to plus 60. It is far higher than your critical temperature of your air. So we can able to take it as a perfect gas. Okay, and also if you take the water vapor, okay, the water vapor, the critical pressure of air is 3774 kilopascal. Okay, the water vapor, the partial pressure of water is 22064 kilopascal. So the water vapor is far less than the critical pressure. Okay, so when these two conditions are met, we can perfectly assume that your moist air is a perfect gas and proceed with our calculation. Okay, so these are the properties of water vapor and dry air. We use these properties for calculating your various properties of air. Okay, so the properties of air can be, so when you want to measure these properties, you require you have to follow the Gibbs space rule. That is the number of independent thermodynamic variable required to define the state of mixture. Number of thermodynamic properties required is C plus 2 minus P. C is the number of components. Here you have a dry air and water vapor, so you have a 2. Okay, and the number of space is a gaseous space, so 2 plus 2 minus 1 is 3. So you require 3 properties to define the state of this water vapor mixture. Okay, see, any of these 3 properties can be, you can use. One is the pressure. Pressure, it's a barometric pressure. Okay, the pressure is exerted by the ambient air, which decreases with increase in altitude. Okay, then you have a dry bulb temperature. This is a true temperature measured by air. You can measure it using the ordinary thermometer. Then you have a humidity ratio, which is also called specific humidity or absolute humidity, which is the mass of water vapor to the unit mass of dry air. Then you have relative humidity. The relative humidity is the measure of capacity of the air to absorb moisture. Okay. Then you have a specific volume. You know that volume per unit mass of air. Okay. Then you have a enthalpy. This is the heat energy required to rise the temperature of air by 1 degree centigrade. Either it is a sensible heat or latent heat. It can be defined in enthalpy. Then you have a dew point temperature. It is the temperature of the moist air, which must be cooled at a constant pressure, below which condensation will take place. Then you have wet bulb temperature. Okay, so which is normally using adiabatic wet bulb temperature. You can normally measure by using your wet bulb thermometer. Okay, so we require any 3 of these properties to measure the properties of other properties to find the state of the moisture, state of the water vapor. Okay, so one of the easiest way to use your psychrometric chart. Okay, so in which you can find the state by having your humidity ratio or dry bulb temperature, relative humidity, or a wet bulb temperature, or the enthalpy. Okay, so by using any of these properties, you can fix the state of your air. Okay, so this is your comfort temperature. You can see a small circle here. This is at 25 degrees centigrade, 50%. Okay, the comfort zone can be around this place. Okay, but when you look at your conditions, outside condition, if you are in hot and dry climate like Jodhpur, your dry bulb temperature in the summer is more than 40 degrees centigrade. Your humidity is less than 30%. That means you will be here. From here, you have to condition the air and bring it to the comfort requirement, which is 25 degrees centigrade, 50% RH in the hot and dry climate. Okay, or if it is places like Chennai, when the ambient is 40 degrees centigrade right now, the humidity is about 90% here. From here, you have to bring it. So you have to follow a systematic process. Okay, either you have to heat it, cool it, you have to humidify or dehumidify. Okay, so these are the 4 basic process which you have to do it to bring the outside air to the conditioned air through this process. Okay, there are 4 basic process, like a sensible heating, okay, sensible cooling, then you have a humidifying, dehumidifying, then you have a combined process. Okay, you have to heating, dehumidifying, cooling, dehumidifying, or heating, dehumidifying. These are the process you have to do it. Okay, so for doing this process, or bring down the temperature of the air, or remove the moisture, you require a equipment. Okay, so the refrigeration system or air conditioning system is able to do this process. Okay, so we'll look at the fundamentals. Okay, you would have seen this diagram in your 3rd semester thermodynamic classes. Okay, the heat engine operates between the heat source and sink temperatures, produces the net work input. Okay, a refrigerator which pumps the energy from the lower temperature at which your cooling is required and reject the heat to the ambient. Okay, you cannot transport the heat without, which violates your classes. 2nd law of thermodynamics, you require a work input. So you supply work, remove the heat from lower temperature, reject it to a higher temperature. Okay, a heat pump which pumps the heat from the sink temperature to the higher temperature by taking the work input. Okay, this is vapor compression system. Okay, so in the case of absorption system, which takes the energy from the high source heat into higher temperature heat source and removes the heat at lower temperature, rejected to your ambient temperature at QS. Okay, so the heat engine efficiency is T2 minus T1 by T2. Okay, so I'm not going into the Carnot process and other things, just we are giving the fundamentals of Carnot cycle. Okay, here the COP of the Carnot refrigerant system is T0 by T1 minus T0. Okay, so that means your focus is your COP is QL by WE. Here the focus is WE divided by QH. Here QH by WE T2 by T2 minus T1. Okay. So since when you look at the heat engine, which produces the work input, the same work input used to run your absorb compression system. But in the case of absorption system, the heat engine and the vapor compression system is combined. Okay, in a single system, the COP is T2 minus T1 by T2. That is a product of your heat engine efficiency and COP, which gives the Carnot COP of your absorption system. Okay. Having said that, we have to convert this Carnot cycle into actual cycle. Okay. So that means a Carnot cycle, you have assumed that you have isentropic compression, isentropic expansion, isothermal heat rejection, isothermal heat rejection and heat absorption. Okay. So as far as possible, we have to retain this rectangular shape so that there is no drop in the COP of the system. Okay. So you have to find a refrigerant or a working fluid which you can able to retain this rectangular shape, okay, in your TDS cycle. Okay. So that your cycle efficiency is not going to be degraded. So you have isothermal heat rejection, isothermal heat absorption, isentropic expansion, and isentropic compression or adiabatic compression or isenthalpic expansion. If you are able to retain this rectangular shape, there will not be more drop in your temperature. Okay, to achieve this, a simple vapor compression cycle is proposed. Okay, a compressor which compresses the. Okay, so with this compressor and other things required, because when you look at your evaporator, the evaporator you have to require a low temperature, low pressure refrigerant, low temperature, low pressure refrigerant, so that it takes the heat from the where the cooling is required at a particular temperature is becomes saturated vapor. Okay, so if you forget about this system, if you are able to supply the evaporator at a saturated liquid at minus 20 degrees centigrade, as long as, okay, then you can able to do the refrigeration effect. Okay, but if you want to recirculate this vapor by condensing it, okay, you require a cooling medium at free of cost, so that you can use the cooling medium, reject the heat to the ambient, and able to convert this. You have to supply the liquid at minus 20. So you require a compressor to compress this saturated vapor to superheated vapor slightly higher than your ambient temperature. Okay, so that you can able to condense this vapor by removing the heat of condensation. That vapor becomes a liquid. Then you can throttle this liquid to a required temperature of minus 20 degrees centigrade. That is a process. Okay, the process is achieved by compressors. Okay, this is a heart of the system. Then you have a two heat exchangers, condenser and evaporator. Then the expansion device. A small, simple line diagram of your vapor air conditioning system. Okay, or a refrigeration system, which is used for cooling the air. Okay. So the most important thing is to perform this task. Okay, you require a refrigerant. Okay, refrigerant is a substance used for refrigeration. What is this? It is a medium to move heat. Okay, so when you look at your a refrigerant is a medium to move the heat. Okay, this is a substance which absorbs the heat at the evaporator and rejects the heat at the condenser. Okay, so it absorbs the heat at the evaporator at a lower temperature and pressure and reject the heat at the condensing temperature at higher pressure. Okay, to do that, you require a compressor to compress this. Okay, so which is the thing we have seen. Okay, so if you don't have a refrigerant, okay, so you require a medium to transport this heat. That medium is your refrigerant. Okay, so it is a substance or a mixture, usually a fluid, which is used in the heat pump and refrigeration cycle. In most cycles, it undergoes a phase transition from the liquid to the gas and back again. Okay, so here it is a suction line. It is a vapor, superheated vapor, condense it, it's become liquid, then expands, it goes to the evaporator, picks up this heat, the vapor turns, the liquid refrigerant turns to vapor refrigerant, then goes to the compressor. Okay. Some of the refrigerants are natural working fluids like CO2, ammonia. Earlier we used CFCs because ODP and other issues. CFC is banned. Okay. And then you have a HCFCs, hydrocarbon, etc. Okay. So these refrigerants, we have to select this refrigerant based on the thermodynamic, transport, physical, chemical, environmental, safety, and economic properties. Thermodynamic properties is nothing but what is the specific heat, enthalpy values, vapor specific heat, liquid specific heat, liquid specific heat, what is the saturation pressure at the condensing temperature, saturation pressure at the evaporating temperature, what is the critical pressure, higher critical pressure is required, okay. Saturation pressure has to be just at the ambient pressure, okay. So if it is lower than the ambient at the required temperature, the system will be in vacuum operation, okay. The transport properties, okay. So there is a question in the chat box whether the PPT will be shared to all the participants. Definitely, after the presentation is over, I'll send this PPT to the ISRE Jodhpur chapter. Okay. So require the PPT, you can ask them, they will distribute to you. Okay. Thank you. So these properties are required. Okay. Transfer properties like thermal conductivity, viscosity, surface tension. Okay. Chemical properties, whether it is a toxic, non-toxic, what is chemically stable. Environmental properties like what is its ODP value and GWP value, global warming effect, ODP potential, okay, and what is your total equivalent warming impact, okay, whether it is safe to operate, is it not toxic, it's not flammable, okay. Then of course cost is the another factor, okay. So to discuss about the refrigerant, it is properties, how these properties is going to influence your performance of the system, okay. So Sandeep has arranged a one lecture on refrigerants and its properties during this 7 days course, okay. So you can please attend this course to know about these properties of refrigerants, okay. Okay. So you look at the performance of this vapor compression system, okay. So you require a refrigerant to do this analysis, okay. I just given the equations for the cooling load. The cooling load is it's a latent heat of vaporization, so MR into delta H, okay. It's the enthalpy difference across the evaporator and mass flow refrigerant. The heat rejection in the condenser is MR into H2 minus H3. The compressor work is mass flow rate into H2 minus H1. The cooling, the COP is defined as the COP can be defined as a cooling load by work of compression H1 minus H4 divided by H2 minus H1. Okay. Water can be used as a refrigerant, no problem. Nowadays, water is a refrigerant used in absorption system, and also in the compression systems. A lot of research has been going on right now to develop the compressor to use your water as a refrigerant, because water has a specific volume issue is there, lowest specific volume. So large amount of your compressor size will increase. Now the effort is to reduce the compressor size and make water as a refrigerant in the vapor compression system is also going on. In another 1 or 2 years, you will get a refrigeration system which uses water as a refrigerant in vapor compression system. So right now, water is used as a refrigerant in absorption system. Okay. So this is a simple cycle analysis. One can able to find the COP of the system. Okay. Okay. So what are the major components? Here the major components I told you. Compressor is the heart of the system. Okay. So about 60% of your total refrigeration cost can be used as a goes to the compressor. 60% of the whole plant cost goes to the compressor cost. About 60% is your cost of your compressor. Okay, it's a heart of the system. You have different types of compressors. Okay, reciprocating compressor, open type reciprocating compressor, semi-sealed scroll compressor, hermetic scroll compressor, screw hermetic compressor, centrifugal hermetic compressor. Okay, or centrifugal large compressors are used. Okay, so based on your hermetic reciprocating compressors. Okay, so the typical TR used here. Okay, if you take a centrifugal compressor, you can use it from 150 TR to above 1000 TR also you can use. You have a single compressor 3000 TR. Okay, so TR is nothing but refrigeration capacity. Okay, this is a ton of refrigeration, which is the amount of heat required to convert water at 0 degrees centigrade to ice at 0 degrees centigrade in 24 hours. Okay, it's called as a ton of refrigeration. In SI unit, 1 TR is 3.54 kilowatt. Okay, so these are the different typical capacity where these compressors can be employed. Okay, so you have a difference. Okay, then if we talk about condenser, the condenser in which the heat of condensation is removed. Okay, so based on your capacity, you can have a air-cooled condenser or water-cooled condenser. Okay, the air-cooled condenser with a natural circulation, you can find it in a refrigerator for small capacities. For your air conditioners, you have this type of fin-type condenser with fans are used to remove forced convection heat transfer. Okay, so in the case of water-cooled condenser, you can have a cell and tube condenser or a tube-in-tube condenser. Cell and coil condensers are normally used to eject the heat either to the, for a small capacity systems, air-cooled condenser are used. For large capacity systems, more than 100 TR, it is better to go for a water-cooled system because as you know, the specific heat of water is 4 times higher than air. Okay, the size of the component is going to be less, and of course the COP will be more, but you require water. So the moment you use water, you require a allied pumping cost and other things will be slightly more than your air-cooled condenser. Okay. Then you have operators. It's a operator where your heat load is absorbed. Okay. So you can have a sealing substrate evaporators or a coiled absorber, like a Finland coil absorber evaporator. These type of evaporators are used in a cold room. Okay. Or you can, for a large commercial central plant, you use a cell and tube evaporators. Okay. And you also have a plate heat exchangers as a evaporator for ammonia applications. Okay. Then you have a expansion device. Okay, so this expansion device, or we call it as a metering device, so which is used to reduce the pressure of your liquid refrigerant from the condensing pressure to the evaporator pressure at the same temperature, the enthalpy isenthalpic expansion. Okay, for a smaller systems, you can capillary tube as an expansion device. Nowadays, you have a thermostatic expansion or a electronic expansion valve. For ammonia plant, you have a handheld expansion device, which is available. Okay. Apart from this, this is not the four major components. You require additional components in order to safeguard the system. Okay. So these systems are, you have only the four major components. There are minor components to safeguard your major components. Okay. You have a high pressure controller, suction line filters, accumulator, okay, stepper, more electronic stepper regulators. Okay. Then you have a moisture indicator, solenoid valve to control this one. Then you have a receiver tank, okay, oil separator, because the compressors require a lubrication. For lubrication, you can lubricant oil, so that oil should not go to the refrigeration circuit. So you require an oil separator, you require oil filter, oil monitor. Okay, you have a high pressure control, low pressure control. Okay, so all these components are ensured that these four major components are going to operate effectively. Okay, without any problem. Okay, because most of these components, most of the system is going to run continuously for more than 8 to 10 years without trouble, without any major issues. Of course, you require some maintenance, but there will not be any major issues in running these components. So you have to safeguard these major components. So require all these allied components are required to safeguard these major components. Okay. Now look goes to the application side. Okay. Oh, there is a question. Can we function the refrigerator without the use of compressor? Yes. Okay. So you refer Electrolux refrigerator or absorption refrigerator. Okay. So that can be operated without compressor work, which can be operated as a heat as the work input. Okay, there are many systems are available. You can Google it and find out. Okay, so when you look at the applications, okay, the applications I'm broadly dividing into air conditioning and refrigeration. In the air conditioning, you have a comfort application for home, office, hotels, malls, airport, etc. So where the requirement is comfort, that means 25 degrees centigrade and 50 to 70% RH is a comfort application. Then you have air conditioning for special application in the hospital operation theaters. Okay, in the hospital operation theaters, you have to remove the particles which is generated inside the hospital operating rooms. You have to safeguard the doctors. You have to have a laminar flow operation theaters with a specific temperature and humidity requirement based on the surgery carried out inside these operation theaters. And you have a clean room applications where you have electronic machinery is fabricated, or so those systems require a special air conditioning system. And of course, you have industrial applications like textile, automobiles, process industries. When you come to the refrigeration, you have a food preservation, refrigerated cold storage system, cold chain, and refrigeration for industrial application like process plant for dairy industries, pharmaceutical industries. They require refrigeration at a specific temperature. If you take a typical pharma industries, their evaporative temperature is required from -72 plus 10 degrees centigrade for various formulation. Okay, that can be given by the refrigeration plant. Of course, refrigeration used for transport application to transport the fruits and vegetables from one place to another place in the cold chain condition. And also refrigeration is mostly liquefaction of gases like hydrogen, helium, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. And of course, it is used in a cryogenic application, liquid fuels, medical application, cryo-rocket engines, and other things. If you look at a variety of applications is there. That is why I say, if you recall in my first slide, okay, so we are helping the mankind to be happy forever. Okay, so let us look at each application in another 10 minutes time. Okay, then we can move forward. Okay, so when you look at the typical AC system, you have a room air conditioner, constant flow air conditioner, and variable airflow air conditioner. Okay, the room air conditioner, you have a window, split AC, high wall, inverter, gasket AC. Constant flow, you have a ducted split package unit. Then in the chiller, you have variable flow conditions, air cooled chiller, water cooled chiller, or VRF. VRF is variable refrigerant flow or variable refrigerant volume systems. Okay, let us see quickly how. Okay, so window AC. Okay, it's a most commonly used and cheapest type of air conditioners, which can be installed in a window. Okay, so with a small gap between the wall and window. Okay, and it can be a top throw, side throw, okay, or a dual throw systems are available. Okay, so we have a major components are housed. You have a, okay, so it's normally used. Nowadays, the market for window AC is coming down because of noise and other problems. So the people are going with the split AC systems, which is used for a small rooms, halls. Okay, so where usually window air conditioner cannot be installed. You have a indoor unit, which is consists of evaporator coil or a cooling coil, long blower and a filter. Outdoor unit, which consists of a compressor, condenser coil, which is normally housed outside this one, connected by the suction to refrigerant lines. Okay, so the distance between the refrigerant lines, we have a standard. Okay, higher the distance, the pressure loss is more, your COP will come down. And also you have to ensure that the proper airflow of your condenser heat rejection has to be there. If any obstruction is there, if the distance is not, if there is no free flow, obstruction is there, your discharge pressure will go high, then the pressure ratio will increase, the COP will decrease. Okay. Then the case of packaged air conditioner, it's a package type. Okay. So which can be either it is a air cooled condenser or a water cooled condenser. You can see the air cooled or water cooled condenser. The package type will come from, so when you look at your window air conditioner and split air conditioner, the capacity cannot more than 2 tier, 1 tier, 1.5 or 2 tier system. So for the package conditioner, which will get capacities vary from 5.5, 7.5, 11 tier system as a single unit, which can be connected to the individual hall or a, okay, it's a package type, we call it as a package type system. Okay. Then you have a variable refrigerant flow, or you call it as a variable refrigerant volume system. It is invented by Daikin Industry. Okay, so which has a one outdoor unit, multiple indoor unit. So this indoor unit can have multiple capacity. Okay, so this is connected with a long refrigerant line. Okay, see, it's unlike a chilled water systems. Okay, you can vary the degree of cooling for individual room. Okay, and you can operate with a remote control. That thing, these systems become highly popular in India nowadays. Okay, so because of easy of operation, energy efficiency, easy to install, okay, compared to a chiller plant. Okay, the chiller plant, you have a direct expansion chiller central air conditioning system. Okay, so like you have AHUs, okay, which has a air handling unit, and you have a you have outdoor unit, okay, so which could be air cooled or a water cooled, okay, direct expansion type, okay, so which can be used for a small buildings like this. Okay, your compressor condenser can be housed in a separate room, okay, AHU in another room. So this air conditioning room, it can be supplied through the duct. Okay, then you have a central air conditioning chilled water plant. Okay, so instead of air cooled condenser, here use a water cooled condenser. Okay, which if you want to use a water cooled condenser, you require a cooling tower to reject the heat. Then the air conditioning air handling unit, which can be housed in a different floors. Your chiller can be at the basement. Okay, your cooling tower at the top of your building, which suppose the building has a 3 or 4 floors. Each floors you can have a separate air handling unit based on the capacity required, and you can distribute the chilled chilled air through the duct. Okay, you can distribute. Okay, so the duct design and selection of your AHU, okay, is also important parameters. Okay, the cooling tower can be evaporative cooling tower also. Okay, the next application for air conditioning is a clean room. Okay, so what is a clean room? Clean room normally used for manufacturing high-end sophisticated electronic gadgets. Okay, or it can be used in a pharmaceutical industry for formulation of chemicals. Okay, pharmaceuticals, automobile industry, electronics industry. So the clean room is a must. Okay, what is clean room? Clean room is a room in which the concentration of airborne particles is controlled. Okay, and which is constructed and used in a manner to minimize the introduction, generation, retention of the particles inside the room. Okay, at the same time, you have to maintain the temperature, humidity, and pressure as controlled, which is required for the process. Okay, a typical office building, the air inside contains 5 lakh to 10 lakh particles, that is 0.5 microns or larger per cubic feet of air. But in a class 100 clean room, you have to never allow 100 particles. So from 5 lakh particles in a typical air conditioning building, a clean room with a class 100 classification, which is should not have more than 1000 particles. Sorry, 100 particles. Okay, that is 0.5 microns or larger. Okay, in the case of class 1000, the limit of particle size is 1000 or 10,000 particles. Okay, so in order to have this precise control of the particle size at the required temperature and pressure, the clean room air conditioning system is different from your normal air conditioning, because in the clean room you have to have an increased air supply, that is 20 to 60 air change per hour compared to 2 to 10 air change per hour in the normal air conditioning system. Since the particle size is important, you require a high efficiency filtration, and the room has to be pressurized always in order to restrict the outside air flow to the inside the room. That is a requirement of a clean room air conditioning system. Then comes to your refrigeration. So refrigeration, as I told you, one of the most important thing is for your low temperature for food preservation. Okay, at the lower temperature, the food product quality and nutrition are retained. For that, you require a refrigeration system. Okay, depends upon the product temperature, the storage life can be increased. Okay, I just given a simple example. Okay, so if you take a processed fish, okay, so you freeze it at -12 to -4 degrees Fahrenheit. The required relative humidity is about 90 to 95%. you can able to store for 6 to 12 months. Similarly, for different fruits and vegetables, you can able to store for a longer duration, okay, for the use of the people during the non-seasonal availability. Okay, this can be a small cold room, 8 by 8 or a 10 by 10, using this like this. Okay, you have a condensing unit. These are evaporator is inside. You have cooling fans. You can have a rack. You can store the vegetable. Okay, and a floor panels. Okay, the thickness of the panels is a puff panel, maybe about 80 mm thickness. Okay, so the storage temperature and RH is the key. Or you can have a large cold room like this. Okay, so refrigeration is mainly used for your food preservation as the first case. Okay, because you can able to maintain a cold chain. Okay, for example, a food manufacturer manufacturing food at 20 degrees centigrade, he pack it at frozen at minus 28 degrees centigrade, then he store it in the whole distribution center where it is stored for a longer duration. Whenever there is a demand, okay, they will pick it up and transport, okay, to the retail center. The transport at 2 degrees centigrade through the food transport system. Then you have a, then at the retail, you have to stock it at the frozen temperature. Okay, then you go to the retail stock at the same freezing temperature at minus 28 degrees centigrade and go it for the cone consumption. So it is formed to 4. A cold chain is required to maintain the continuous cold chain to retain the product quality. A refrigeration system at various stages is must. Maybe at minus 28 degrees centigrade during the processing when you want to store it for a longer duration. For the transport, maybe at a lower temperature, okay, is required. Okay, so the next application is a process cooling. The process cooling is different from the air conditioning. Air conditioning normally made at one temperature for the one fluid at the one flow rate. Okay, but in the process chiller, it can operate at a different temperature, different fluids at different flow rate. Okay, a process chiller can have a multiple pumps or multiple cooling system. A process chiller can have a 3 evaporators. Okay, so each evaporator can operate at a multiple temperature. A low temperature evaporator can operate at minus 20, medium temperature evaporator at plus 5 degrees, plus 0 degrees centigrade, or a high temperature evaporator can operate at 10 degrees centigrade. Okay, for it can be served for different application. For example, if you take a dairy industry, the dairy industry requires storage of milk at 4 degrees centigrade, butter at minus 20 degrees centigrade. For processing, you require a temperature at 4 degrees centigrade. Okay, so different temperature can be met by the single chiller, which is used for the process chilling application. Okay, so the process chillers are mainly used in process industry, like as I told, chemical industries, pharmaceutical, textile, all these industries. Okay, then the refrigeration for the cold chain, you require a transport. So the transport refrigeration is a method of shipping at a specific temperature controlled. It can be a container refrigeration. You can have the refrigeration unit at the back of the container, or a simple refiller truck. Okay, where you have a refrigeration unit here. In a larger truck, you can have a refrigeration unit under this one. Okay, so it depends upon the required temperature. The refrigeration duty is going to be differs. Okay, if it is minus 20 degrees centigrade, so if you want to keep the product at minus 20 and transport, okay, for a rigid lorry, the load is about 3.8 kilowatt. Okay, for at 0 degrees centigrade, 2.3 kilowatt. Okay, so these details are available in the standard. You can refer the Israel Refrigeration Handbook. You can get all these details about the temperature, your fuel consumption, all these things. Okay. And refrigeration is also used for liquefaction of the gases. Okay, so nowadays the gases are required to liquefy, like liquid nitrogen, liquid oxygen, for variety of applications, like your cryogenic rocket engine, or for a cryosurgery, you require liquid oxygen or liquid nitrogen. Sorry, liquid oxygen is used for a medical applications, particularly during this corona virus time. A lot of liquid oxygen is required to keep the oxygen saturation level for patients. So a lot of liquid oxygen cylinders has been used. Okay, so refrigeration is used here. Okay, so when the pressure of gas is increased, okay, and it is compressed and cooled, and there is a sudden expansion. Okay, so it is liquefied at minus 20 degrees at 200 degrees centigrade. You can store it and you can separate these gases in the gas separator, liquid oxygen at -80 and liquid nitrogen is -190 degrees centigrade, you can get it. Okay. So using this liquid nitrogen and liquid oxygen, the variety of applications can be, one is a cryosurgery. Okay, so you can for a tumor, okay, or you are reducing the body weight, cryosurgeries are used. Okay, cryogenic fuels are used as a cryogenic rocket engine, like liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen. Cryogenic fuels are used in a rocket engine. Okay, so to recap, okay, first we talked with the importance of HVAC systems. We started with the thermal comfort parameters to understand why we require a temperature of 25 and relative humidity 40 to 70%, and what is other thermal parameters like air speed, metabolic activities, clothing. Okay, then building heat transfer. Okay, so what are the modes of heat transfer, types of heat transfer, cooling load estimation. Okay, so all this to remove the heat from the building, you should know the properties of air. The properties of the air you can based on your ambient temperature, because your ambient temperatures and the pressure varies from 50 to 150 kilopascal, where the temperature varies from -60 to +60. But you require a comfort condition at 25 and 50% RH. So you require different process you have to do, psychrometric process like sensible heating, cooling, or a combined heating, humidification, cooling and dehumidification, various processes we have seen. And to achieve this process, you require a refrigeration system. We've seen the fundamentals of Carnot cycle, the refrigeration cycles and refrigerant used, and how to do the performance calculation, and what are the different components of refrigeration cycle, like components of compressor, condensers, evaporators, expansion device, and allied components required to operate these 4 major components safe. And finally, we have seen the refrigeration applications. Okay, air conditioning for comfort, special application, industrial applications, refrigeration for food preservation, transport, process cooling, liquefaction of the gases, and cryosurgery and other things. Okay, so with this, I'll wind up my presentation. Okay, but the future is bright for young engineers like you. Okay, so recently the Indian Cooling Action Plan 2019 has been released. So they're estimated that there is going to be a tremendous increase in your space cooling requirement, cold chain requirement, and other transport requirement in India. Okay, when you see this requirement in another 20 years, right now we are here, our requirement annual, this one is about 200 million tons, which is going to increase about 800 million tons in another 20 years. Okay, at the same time, you require annual energy consumption is also going to increase. Okay, so this document is available at the MOF Ozone Cell website. Please download it and go through this document, which is going to give you what is the job profile. Okay, and what are the specific requirements in the next 20 years in the HVAC field. Okay, and also which gives the ways to reduce the cooling energy requirement. Okay, how to improve the energy efficiency in HVAC system. So this is a very good document. I request all of you, please download this document and read it and see what is the future ahead for the HVAC engineers. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, slightly 5 minutes I overshoot my time. Okay, so we can now discuss any. Okay, first I will take the question in the chat box. I think, can we reduce the global warming index of in AC? Yes, you can reduce it by going for a, the moment you choose for a natural refrigerant, your GDP value is 0. Okay, so you can straight away you can reduce your GWP index. Okay, or you can go for a refrigerant which has a lowest GWP. Okay, in Europe and other places, GWP if it's less than 100 is only allowed. Okay, in India we can go to 2028. We can go up to use this moderately high GWP refrigerant, like a replacement of 22 is 410A in the air conditioner, which has a GWP value about 1800. Okay, but ODP is 0. But if you go for If you go for natural refrigerant, both ODP and GWP is 0, and you can able to reduce it. Okay. What is the difference between air conditioning and refrigerant? I think I addressed this in my presentation very well. Okay, so air conditioning is mainly used to condition the air for the conditioning of air for the temperature, humidity, okay, air velocity, and removing the pollutants inside the air. Okay, keeping the air required for comfort application. But the refrigeration used for variety of application depends upon your end use, which we have seen earlier. Okay. When we can use absorption system to be economical at what load? Okay, absorption systems are economical at all kind of load, even at so you would have seen the electrolytic refrigerator, okay, so which uses the heat as a operation. Okay, you can use it economically. Okay, but for a commercial system, okay, economical operation, if the load is more than 40 TR, which is economically feasible, mainly because the cost of your solution pump is very high. Okay, because solution pump which transfer the low pressure refrigerant absorbent liquid from the absorber to condenser, the cost is quite high. That is why it is not economical at lower capacity. But nowadays, because of air cooling mechanism, okay, so this system can be economical at 10 TR itself. There are quite few manufacturers now offering absorption system at 10 TR or even 5 TR system. Absorption systems are available. We have made 2 systems at 1 at 3 TR, which is air cooled operation for cold storage application, which is running for the last 10 years without much problem. Okay. Next question, how does the atmospheric pressure affects the selection and designing of air conditioning system? Okay. See, the atmospheric pressure does not affect your system, only at, so you have to take care of special care. Okay. So normally, in 99% of systems, we operate the air conditioning system at normal atmosphere, only at the specific condition. Okay. So we have to have a special design is available, so which we can discuss at a later stage, or you can mail me. Okay. There are a lot of other questions are there. Okay. Can carbon dioxide use a refrigerant? Yes, you can use carbon dioxide, but it is the cycle is in a transcritical stage. Okay, so you have to have the components. You have to select the components which can be operated at higher pressure. Okay, or 290 or 600, which is best. Okay, which is based on your application. For refrigerator, both are best. Okay, so it depends upon the, for refrigerator use R290, for air conditioner 600. Okay, so both are best. Okay, there is no, both are hydrocarbons. Okay, lower GWP, less ODP, natural refrigerant, both are best. In present scenario, which refrigerant is preferable to use? That is the name of the refrigerant. Okay, like I told you, if you use a natural refrigerant like ammonia and carbon dioxide, okay, which is cheap. Say carbon dioxide, ammonia is very cheap. Okay, and you can use it for variety of applications, for air conditioning, cold storage, all the application I was said, ammonia can be used as a refrigerant. Okay, but for safety and other things, ammonia people are not suggesting. But with the new systems, the new safety norms, the equipments are in place, you can use ammonia as a refrigerant. In my preference, personally, I go for ammonia. But hydrocarbons, ammonia, okay, your R123YF, this blend, okay, all these refrigerants are suitable, okay. But this blend is higher cost compared to ammonia, but we don't know, after some time, no, they may sell these blends also may not be suitable. You have to go for another system. But if you go for natural refrigerant, it is better, okay. Can we connect our house split AC solar panel complete to eliminate complete power consumption? Yes, you can do. So it generates electricity from solar PV. Okay, but if you want to do the directly, if you run your split AC, but your compressor has to be changed to a DC based compressor. But if you want to use the AC compressor right now in the split AC, you have to have a inverter and battery and connect it, and you can use it. Okay. What is the recommendation to increase the efficiency of an air conditioner? Okay. Efficiency of air conditioner can be increased by properly installing these units. Like I told you, your condenser, say proper selection and installation saves a lot of at least 20% efficiency. You can improve upon it. Okay, and a proper selection of equipment will increase your efficiency. What is your reviews on solar air conditioning? Perfect. Okay, so it is the future. Solar air conditioning, thermal based solar air conditioning is going to the future for mini systems, okay, compared to PV systems. While the atmospheric temperature are touching 45 to 50, why is the standard manufacturing temperature not upgraded? I am not able to understand what is this question. Gaurav? I think it is a standard manufacturing case means of the standard operating temperature at 25 degrees centigrade. Okay, that is a universal thing. Okay, so as that is why when the ambient temperature goes up, your PV systems efficiency comes down because the PV systems manufacturing temperature is at 25 degrees centigrade. Okay, because say India is not only the country, it is a global practice. So it is a global thing. Okay, so maybe say if we noted the standard temperature is 15 degrees centigrade, later everybody is agreed they rise to 25 degrees centigrade. Maybe days to come, they will increase to 30 degrees centigrade to keep your manufacturing temperature calm. Sorry, can you explain entropy exactly means exactly? Tomorrow I'm not taking class. I don't know. You can send me a mail. I will give. Somebody is asked, can you explain what is entropy exactly means easily in tomorrow's class? Okay. So Venkatesh, please send me a mail. I'll give the mail ID in my presentation. Okay. I'll give you the answer. Okay. Magnetic refrigeration, yes, it's a future scenario, but still a lot of research has to be done. Okay. A radiant cooling building is more efficient. No, it is not more efficient. Radiant cooling can support your conventional cooling. Radiant cooling will take care of your sensible heat load part. For latent heat, you require a conventional system, but you can have your radiant cooling and conventional in coherence in the building. Why AC is going to accident? I don't know. I'm not able to understand this question. Okay, AC is never goes to accident because of the components of electrical wire, overheating, fluctuation in your voltage, all these things. AC never goes into accident. Okay, so these are my Q&A questions. Okay, I hope I answered most of these questions. Okay, thank you for patient listening. Okay, hope you all of you enjoyed lectures. I see that still 150 participants are in the webinar. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I will send this PPT to Sandeep. Okay, I request Sandeep to distribute whoever is willing to have this PPT for their use. Okay, so thank you. Over to Sandeep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now I invite Sandeep Goel, Program Chair from Jodhpur Subchapter, to acknowledge Dr. R. Saravanan.
Sandeep, are you there?
Sandeep Goel, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Hello. Sandeep sir, I am audible?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible.
Good evening, everyone. So today I feel very honored and lucky to have the opportunity to give vote of thanks to Dr. R. Saravanan sir, that for the incredible presentation. Sir, really it's very knowledgeable, and sir enlighten us for the various topic of HVAC fundamentals. And I really thanks to Dr. Sir. And also, sir, I am congratulating our Jodhpur sub-chapter for organizing that kind of workshop and to give the knowledge on various topics of HVAC. So very thanks to Sandeep Gupta sir and student chapter president Yash Kataria ji. Thanks sir. Thanks once again sir.